Hi, Mike Seltzer, head strength conditioning coach at Bates College, here for Figure It Out Baseball. And in this video, we're going to talk about shoulder flexion. So shoulder flexion is simply raising the arm overhead. And so what I want you to kind of think about is what that looks like for you, how that feels for you, what you feel for compensations. And something I want you to understand is that shoulder flexion is just not this motion. It's also out at this angle or this angle or this angle. So all of this that I'm doing here in this range, this is all some form of shoulder flexion. So I want to have some understanding of how my arm is moving in all these different ranges of motion through shoulder flexion. Why is that really important? Well, as you throw a baseball, as you're trying to sling the baseball as fast as you can, your arm is never truly going to go through the same exact positioning each time you throw. So there's no kind of pitch a fastball program in your mind and your arm automatically hits the same spot. If you were to overlay, pick any MLB pitcher, if you were to overlay his arm on a fastball, as an example, you would see his arm in different positions throughout those X amount of pitches that you overlaid. What you would see is the release point would be almost identical, but the overlay from the different positions as he's throwing through the arm slot would be different. So I want to evaluate kind of how well my shoulder goes through flexion, and then I can use that information in my training. Okay, so as we get to the true mobility training for this, which is strength and control through that range of motion, we have a good idea of what we're looking at. Okay. Here's a couple of compensations that we'll commonly see. So I'll turn side two. We'll see extension through the spine. So as the athlete starts to raise the shoulder up, we go into flexion, the spine extends, okay? You can also see rib flaring. So the ribs will flare up, which is, a product of the extension of the spine. So we're leaning back. You can see a slight bend in the elbow. So instead of being able to come straight up and get to this kind of good position here, you'll see an elbow bend, and then they get further back and they start getting into external rotation of the shoulder as opposed to pure shoulder flexion. Okay, those are a couple of the main compensations that I would want you to look at. What I would like you to do is to take a video of yourself face on, side two, and really kind of go nice and slow and controlled, kind of root yourself to the ground. You can do it kneeling. I'm doing it kneeling just because of the camera height. And then I'm just going to come up, take note of how it feels, okay? Then I'm going to come up at a slightly different angle, take note of how it feels. Then I'm going to come up at a slightly different angle, take note of how it feels. And then another one. And I'm just going to kind of piece that together and notice the difference between right and left. And just because I'm a right-handed athlete, I still want to do everything on my left side as well. And once you have that video, you face on side two, take note of where your compensations are. That will give you your kind of training, your entry into the mobility training, so to speak, okay? So let's say, ideally, I want to get somewhere around this position where I'm not arching my back, my ribs aren't raising up, my elbow's not bending, my bicep is essentially level with my ear or slightly behind it. That's kind of our ideal position. If you stop a little bit short of that, say I stop here as an athlete and then I arch my back to bring my arm vertical, well, this is my entry point. This is where I'm going to start from, okay? And what that just means is any exercise that keeps you inside this kind of arc of range of motion is free game for you to participate in, okay? But doing something completely overhead might become problematic because your body will use compensation to allow you to do it. So if you're doing a true overhead press, you're going to end up arching your back to do it, and that can be problematic. Okay, so take a short video, look at yourself, look at your positions, and see, and just check yes or no. Do I have good shoulder flexion in a couple different angles, and what does that look like? And is it yes or is it no? And in the next videos, I'll go over what we can do to help improve / solidify and strengthen those ranges of motion. So again, Mike Seltzer, head strength conditioning coach at Bates College, here for Figure It Out Baseball. Thank you.